Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation, the New Jersey Family Engagement. Well, thank you guys very much as far as with signing up for building our learning village. So, who are we as the Family Engagement Hub? The New Jersey Family Engagement Hub is a statewide initiative dedicated to strengthening partnerships between families, schools, and communities. As affiliates of the SPAN Parent Advocacy Network, the Hub provides technical assistance and training to educators, administrators, family leaders, and community organizations across New Jersey. So what do? We engage. We are working directly with selective school districts doing individual support. We are statewide, providing information and training via workshops and webinars. The goal is to assist development and implementation of effective systemic family engagement practices that lead to improved student outcomes and empower families to be active partners in their children's education, from early learning through high school and beyond. If I could have the next slide, please. And without further ado, I will be passing it over to Erica to continue our presentation. Thank you guys so much for hosting.
Thanks, Carrie. Hi, everyone. We're so glad that you're with us tonight. As Carrie mentioned, our webinar for this evening is called Building Our Learning Village, Designing Respectful, Collaborative Learning Spaces. So without further ado, we would love to hear a little bit about you. If you wouldn't mind, and I know some of you are on your cell phones, which is totally fine. So if you're not able to enter it into the chat box, that's okay. But if you are, we would love to know where you're zooming in from, how old are the children you work with, or if you work with an individual child. And we'd also love to know one word to describe the community that you want in your classroom. Or maybe you don't have necessarily a classroom, but you're working with a group of students. So one word to describe the community that you want. And we'll give it a minute and we'll hopefully hear from you in the chat box. Give it one more little bit of time. I understand that some folks are not able to enter it in. That's totally fine. So if you can't, and you feel like answering as we go along, we would love to hear from you. I'm going to keep moving along just so we can get our presentation underway here. So we're going to do a couple of introductions before we get started. My name is Erica Brenton. I have been an educator for over 20 years, and I started my career as a New York City public school teacher. It was then that I became very invested in social emotional learning, and I guess can call myself an SEL specialist now. I am a consultant for the School Culture and Climate Initiative. We work with schools around New Jersey to support their culture and climate. And I live in Montclair, New Jersey with my husband and my two children. I have a middle school child and an elementary school child. And in my free time, which I generally don't have a ton of, but I do like to go on long walks, I like to read, and I like to spend time with my family. So we have one entry into the chat box, and then I'm going to hand it over to my colleague and friend, Katie. Danielle, you're calling in from New Jersey, from Montclair Community Pre-K, fantastic. And you have a 3 and a 4-year-old. We have a lot of folks coming in from Montclair Community Pre-K, fantastic. We're so happy to have you here. And if you want to keep adding in your thoughts and your location and all that stuff into the chat box, we would love to hear from you. I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
Hi, folks. I'm so happy to be here tonight. It's so nice to see folks in the chat. We have another one coming in from Woodbridge, New Jersey. And she has a daughter in kindergarten. She's 5 years old. Welcome, everyone. My name is Katie Wassel. I'm, as I said, thrilled to be here today. I've been an early childhood teacher for over 20 years in New York City, California, and New Jersey, though I spent the bulk of my career teaching in New York City public schools. I currently teach pre-K in a public classroom here in Montclair. Some of my colleagues are here tonight. I'm so happy to see them. In addition to teaching children, I also teach teachers over at William Patterson University. I'm an adjunct professor there in the education department. And I actually teach a course about building relationships, which is a lot of what we'll be talking about today. I'm also a mama to 3 children, 2 of whom are in elementary school and 1 is in middle school. She just entered 6th grade. So while I will be, oh, and Maritza is here as well. Hi, Maritza, another teacher from Montclair Community Pre-K in New Jersey here, who also teaches 3 and 4-year-olds. When I'm not in school, I'm mama to my children. One just started middle school, so I'm getting used to what that is like. And when I'm not doing all of that other work, I also love to paint. I'm a painter. So that's who I am. Thanks, Sarah.
Yay. Thank you, Katie. So glad we're to co-present with you tonight. So I'm just going to do a quick review of what we're going to talk about tonight, and then we'll get underway. So all of the topics that fall under respectful and collaborative learning spaces really have to do with a sense of belonging. So how do we create communities of belonging? And so tonight what we'll be doing is we'll taking a deep dive into what belonging means. So we'll define belonging. We'll talk about why it matters and talk a little bit about the research behind it, what it looks like in practice. And then Katie will provide us with some practical strategies that you could use right away in your classrooms and your settings. And then we'll end with a Q&A. So we hope that you walk away here with a better sense or a better understanding of why creating environments of belonging are important, and that you really walk away with strategies that you can use right away with your students. So before we get started, we would love to know a little bit about what you're hoping for from this webinar. So if you wouldn't mind, it looks like everyone, not everyone, but a lot of folks have access to the chat box. What's one thing that you hope to take away from this webinar? And then we can also, based on your responses, make sure that we address any of your desires and ideas. So one thing that you hope to take away from this webinar, if you wouldn't mind entering that into the chat box, we would love to hear from you again. And if you can't access the chat, maybe just think about it, and it could be food for thought. Okay, additional strategies for my toolbox. Fantastic. We're going to provide a lot of those to you. Thank you. Katie, how many folks would you say are here from Montclair Community Pre-K?
Let's see my friends Danielle, Gamby, and Maritza.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to keep moving along, but we would love to continue to hear from you. Please share as many ideas as you want, and Katie will monitor the chat for us. But it sounds like we're just going to continue to add tools to your toolbox, which is exactly what we hope to do tonight for you. So I wanted to start off with a chat and a quick, a quote and a quick story. So we want to set the foundation here, and here's a quote from an educational researcher, Linda Darling Hammond, and she says, "Students don't learn from people that they don't feel connected to." And I felt that this was a really nice way of opening this webinar because it reminds me of a time when my son had entered into 4th grade, and he was always a thriving student, and then his grades started to plummet. And we were kind of concerned about him, and we didn't really know what was going on. And then we finally did some digging, and we found out that he said to us, "I don't feel like I belong." And it was a very kind of painful moment, especially as a social emotional educator, to hear him say that. So we had some conversations with his teacher, and she, of course, was wonderful and had no awareness of what was going on with that. And so they started to form this relationship with each other. And then he started to thrive. And so it really made me realize the importance of connection and belonging, not only to feel good, but also in the important learning process that children undertake. And so let's do a quick definition of belonging. So we're kind of on the same page, but I will say that there are many definitions of belonging out there. This definition comes from the Cambridge Dictionary, but you may have your own definition of belonging, or it may feel like something different to you. So I encourage you to think about what it means to you. But this definition is a feeling of being happy or comfortable as part of a particular group and having a good relationship with other members of the group because they welcome you and accept you. A sense of belonging is one of humanity's most basic needs. So I really liked this definition. And I'm curious to hear from you all. What is a time that you felt that you belonged to a learning community, and what made that possible? So if you're not able to enter into the chat, that's totally fine, but maybe just to think to yourself of a time that you belonged and what were all the things that were happening in play to make you feel that strong sense of belonging. So we'll take 1 minute just to see if any folks want to enter their experiences into the chat box. And if not, that's okay. We'll just move along in about 1 minute.
We have a contributor in the chat box.
Thank you, KRA. People listening and validating me. Another entry, so when people were genuinely friendly, so that's different than just kind of like a false friendly, and really listening to one another. So listening has come up twice. And we'll take another 30 seconds. Okay, Gamby wrote, as a student, my professor acknowledging that I had gifts and talents that were important to the learning space. So it sounds like really being seen for who you are and all that you have to offer. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas.
Manitza is writing in as well.
People respecting your point of view and open communication with your team and feeling respected. So it sounds like respect and being seen and being listened to. These are all ways that people felt that they belonged. Thank you all so much. So we encourage you as we go along in this webinar to really keep those in mind, to really think about what went into play when you felt that you belonged, and then maybe we can also add some new ideas. So I know, it feels good to feel a sense of belonging. I think we all know that, but there's actual research that shows that there are actual benefits of students feeling that they belong in school. So some of the research that has been found is that students feel more positive social relationships. They actually experience higher academic achievement, higher academic self-efficacy. There's better attendance and increased rates of high school and college enrollment, better career success, healthy psychological functioning, a better sense of social well-being, more happiness, a better sense of identity development and self-esteem, and lower levels of drug use, mental health issues, and violent behavior or victimization in adulthood. So again, we know that it feels good to feel like that we belong, but there's actual research that shows that it has so much more impact in life. So then we're going to take a little look at, well, what happens when students don't feel that they belong? And so there was a research study done in 2021 that a lack of a sense of school belonging was found to be associated with increased risk for mental illness, antisocial behavior, increased risk of physical illness, and early mortality. And then going even further, there was a study done by the Aspen Institute in June of 2024 that found that close to 40% of US high school students don't feel connected to school. Only 55% of young people feel connected to people at their school with LGBTQ plus students, and those with disabilities and students of color faring the worst. And that this disconnection is really fueling a mental health crisis. And so we can think about maybe some of the things that are happening around this time in June 2024, right? This is post-COVID. This is like when technology is getting even more steeped in children's lives. And so evidence really points that students aren't really necessarily rejecting school as a whole, but they're pointing to curricular and social structures that fail to engage them. So it's not necessarily that they're rejecting school, but that the structures that devalue them are the things that are making them feel a lack of sense of belonging. And so let's shift a little bit of our gears here and think about and look at what does belonging actually look like. And so this is a video taken in an elementary school. So it's an elementary example, but it's a really lovely example that you can think about at any age. And so what we would like for you to do is think about how would you feel if you were a student in this community? So this is belonging in action. I'm going to just toggle my screen here.
The driver for learning is the social connection. Activating a child's cognitive skills begins with activating their social connectedness. Children in this school are starting the day with an adult saying to them, I see you, I know you, I'm connecting with you, and you're important to me.
We start each day by greeting every kid at the door. Good morning, Declan. Thank you, baby. That's special this weekend. Every classroom does some variation of, would you like a high five, handshake, or hug? Essentially, it's what greeting would you like? How you doing, handsome? Good.
There is a great deal of cultural sensitivity and empowerment for children to say, here is how I want to greet you.
High five, handshake, or hug. You got your hair done? Good morning. You got your hair done? Let me turn around. I love it. All right, we're gonna have a good day today? All right. High five, handshake, or hug. During that time, I'm just trying to connect with them. All right. Help them from the transition from home to school. And just kind of like a pulse check to see where they are. Oh, I knew you wanted a hug. How are you feeling today, sir? We're gonna have a good day? Look at my eyes. Do they look escalated? Do they look triggered? Do they look upset? So it's a way for me to see, okay, who needs to be where? How can I help? How can I be assistance to start their day off most effectively? How you doing today? I'm being very intentional about my interactions with students, right? So it's not just I'm in the back of the room, hey, come in. No, I'm making connection with them. Have eye contact with them. I'm checking in how they're doing. I'm checking to make sure they're okay. Good morning, friends. I think the impact is deep relationships. I get to know my students. I get to check in with them. I get to find out something about them. They get to find out something about me. We get to make a connection. And that starts with the greeting at the door. All right, come on in.
So a child is walking in the door feeling cared for, empowered, and encouraged. And that teacher is focusing in on who that child is. And that's how the day starts.
I love that video so much. It made me feel like I belonged in that community. Katie felt the same. This teacher's so fantastic, but just curious to hear from you all. How do you think it would feel to be a student in this community? So just maybe thinking about it or entering your thoughts into the chat box would be fantastic. I know that I would feel a strong sense of belonging and also that I was really valued. So anybody else who has a word or a couple of words to just share how they would. Oh, Katie, I would feel loved. Yeah, there is a strong sense of love in this classroom. Oh, I love that word, sanctuary, Kari. She is extremely warm. And Danielle, I love this. This is great. I would love that. Such a personal connection, which is what's needed every day. Absolutely. Welcomed, part of the classroom community, seen, loved, and seen. Yep. And it's fantastic that she does this every day, which I can only imagine, like if it was just done on Fridays or just done on Mondays, how that would just kind of be, just really like shortchanging all that she can do. And the fact that this is done every day really builds that sense. So thank you all for entering your thoughts and ideas into the chat. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at, and then I actually can't wait to turn the presentation over to Katie, who's going to share some other of these fantastic strategies and practices for you that she uses in her own classroom. But if we're going to break down what belonging looks like, we can think about it in terms of 5 areas. And so as I'm reading these 5 areas, maybe just to think about for yourself, where you feel maybe not strongest, but maybe where you feel that you put the most attention into, or maybe some areas that you would like to, improve, or some areas that you would like to pay more attention to. So when we think about belonging, we can say that students feel seen, their names, identities, and cultures are honored. And I know Katie's going to share a couple of examples of that in a moment, which is exciting. That students feel safe, that they can take risks without fear or ridicule, that they feel valued, their ideas and contributions matter, that students feel connected, they have positive relationships with peers and adults, and that they feel capable, that they believe that they can grow and succeed. So, Katie, I'm going to turn it over to you to ask this prompt and to take it into your own practice.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erica. As Erica encouraged us to think about, what does this make you think about in your own practice? Maybe there are areas where you feel like you are building this sense of belonging in your classroom, and students feel seen, or students feel safe or valued. So I encourage you to put in the chat. You don't need to, of course, it's optional, but if you'd like to put in the chat, what does this make you think about in your own practice? And perhaps an example of how you cultivate belonging in your classroom. And it will be a perfect segue to the next part of our presentation, but I'll give you all a moment to think about it. Maybe you're thinking about what this slide is sharing right here. Maybe you're thinking about the video of that wonderful warm teacher we just watched a moment ago. But what does this make you think about in your own practice, and how you build a sense of belonging, and an example of how you do that? I'll give you a moment to think about it and write in. And of course, you don't have to if you don't want to. Maybe you're thinking about your own greetings. Erica, if you don't mind going to the next slide, I'm gonna give the folks a moment to write in if they'd like.
Absolutely, and I'll monitor the chat for you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
As you're thinking about your own practice, and perhaps writing in, I'm going to start talking about the practice that happens in my classroom and classrooms over the years. Oh, Danielle is writing in. Danielle is thinking about greetings as well. And Danielle says, I greet my children every day at the door, and the parents. We talk briefly, and I think it makes the parents feel comfortable. Danielle, I'm so glad you're sharing this. Because you're getting at 2 points here, making connections with the children and making connections with the families. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And that is a perfect segue for the next thing I'm going to say, that I'm so happy to talk about strategies to foster belonging in the classroom tonight. And of course, we have so many seasoned teachers here, and some folks who are not teachers, but are working with classrooms and children and families in different capacities. So I just right off the bat like to say, of course, I'm preaching to the choir here. You all are bringing in all of your own experience and your own expertise. And so while I'm sharing a bit of my practice or practice I've seen in other classrooms, I just want to honor the practice that you all have established in your rooms as well. Maritza is writing in, and she says, we have pictures of different greetings to give children the ability to choose how they want to be greeted, always with a warm welcome and right down at their level. She also says, and we do the same for parents asking about their day, happenings at home. Thanks, Maritza. That sounds like a lovely practice. As we're working through my slides, and I have a lot to say, if things come up, or if you have questions, or you want to add on to an idea, or it's making you think of something that you want to share with the group, please throw it in the chat. Erica's going to be watching the chat, and we want to hear from you. As I said, we're a group of grown-ups who have been working with children for a long time, or some time, and it's always great to hear from all of you. As we're working through this, and as we're thinking about what it feels to belong, how it feels to belong, being seen, feeling safe, feeling valued, feeling connected, feeling capable, I also want us to keep in our minds just the number of relationships that happen in a school. There's the child to self, the child's getting to know themselves and their feelings and their experiences, and knowing how to speak to their own experiences and feelings. We're thinking about the relationship from the child to the teacher, children to children within the community. We're thinking about the child to the school. We're thinking about the school's relationship with the families and the teacher relationships with the families. And we're thinking about the relationships of school to the community and families to the community. And so we are in this unique position as teachers to support and be aware of all of these relationships that are going on and how that can impact a sense of belonging. Okay, I would also like to say before I start that I've worked the majority of my career in pre-K and kindergarten classrooms, and so a lot of what is illustrated in these pictures is actually early childhood examples. However, I'm going to be talking about, I have worked with older children throughout my career, so I'm going to be referencing some of that practice, ideas that I've seen in other classrooms. But I also encourage you to think, if you're working with older children, what could this look like in my own classroom? What would this look like for the age group that I'm working with? Or what are the needs of my group? And how can I think about these concepts answering the needs of my group? All right, here we go. This is our first one. Let's start off with greetings. Erica shared this beautiful video of this teacher who is so attuned to her children and greets them every single day. And I want to talk about greetings as well. And clearly Danielle and Maritza are thinking about it as well. This teacher that we started off with, she gets on eye level with her students. She looks in their eyes. She called them by their names. She expressed excitement to see them. So did other grownups in the school. She asked them how they would like to be greeted, of course, taking into consideration their own consent and what their body needs. Many of them chose a hug, and a lot of children in our experience, we know, long to make that physical contact with a school grown-up. This greeting method helped connect the teacher emotionally and physically with each student and helped each person feel seen, valued, safe, and connected. In these strategies, we're thinking about all of the same ideas, all the strategies that I'm going to discuss. Children need to feel connected, cared for, trusting, and safe in their classroom. And as a mentor of mine says, feeling safe changes everything. So let's think about how all of these are contributing to a feeling of safety for children. Greetings can look different in every classroom. In the picture next to the teacher that we've already seen, you can see me holding a child. This child came in and was carrying a heavy load that day. She really didn't want to say goodbye to her grown-ups and felt really sad. Now, our abilities to greet in different ways are going to be impacted by how many grown-ups are in the room and what age groups we have and what our responsibilities are for unpacking in the morning. In this situation, I have a co-teacher, a very wonderful co-teacher, and so she was standing and sitting by the door to greet children, and I was able to be with this child to help her with what she needed. Let's see. This child who was sitting in my lap, she felt really sad, and she wanted to lie across my lap. She didn't want to hug, but she wanted to be in physical contact with a grown-up. And eventually, through her tears, she started to calm, and we sort of co-regulated together. And we had the ability for one grown-up to stay with her the whole time. I note this to just really raise and highlight the point that depending on the number of teachers we have and the number of students we have, sometimes we're able to do this and sometimes not. And it may look different with older children. But as you can see in the next photo, there's actually a grown-up in the middle of all those children. That's me. But as these greetings and helping children carry these heavy loads, and welcoming them in a way that they feel secure and safe, it starts to spread in the classroom culture. This was one child who was also having a hard morning, and then all the children saw that they were having a hard morning, and it all became a community hug. And then the next photo of the children with the smiley faces over their faces, it spreads in the classroom culture, and children start to greet themselves and greet each other in a really warm way. I would just like to note that in order to protect these children's identities, I had to use these smiley faces, and Google Slides only offers white smiley faces, and I'm not fully comfortable with that, but this is what was on offer for Google Slides. So I just want to note that that's what I used to keep these children anonymous. So as we greet each child in a warm way, we don't know what they're carrying in. They're carrying in their feelings, they're carrying in their experiences, they're carrying in the sleep that they had the night before. Maybe it was a lot of sleep, maybe it wasn't a lot of sleep, maybe their grown-up is away on a work trip, maybe they had to say goodbye to their grandma who flew back to her home. I'm not sure, but as they come in, when we're greeting them, we're giving them the opportunity to share what's going on and to let them know, that's a lot for you to carry, and I'm going to carry it with you. I'm going to be with you through these big feelings. Let's see. Erica, do you mind going to the next slide, please? As children are entering, a lot of them are thinking about their families. It's very hard for children to be separating from families, and depending where your children are, chronologically or developmentally, a lot of them are still working on this feeling of staying connected with their family grown-ups while being present at school, while being physically separated from their families. And so one way to support that connection and help them maintain that feeling of connectedness to their family grown-ups is to have representations of their families in the classroom. This child on the left is going through a lot. Her mom is about to have a baby, and she's about to get her first new sibling. And so in addition to the family board, which is to the right, and I'll talk about that in a moment, she needed her family with her. We didn't have a small photograph for her to make a necklace out of, but this is a drawn picture, and you can see there's her mom and her dad with a baby in her belly, and herself and her dog. And then we asked what else she wanted on the drawing, and she did a heart. Now, of course, this is for a younger child, and she needed help representing her family in this way. For older children, I've seen children keep a photo of their family in their pocket, or make a necklace of their own photo or of their own drawing, or just a picture of their mom. And so helping them keep that physical connection and holding it might be really, really calming for children. In our classroom, we also make family boards. We encourage families to print out photos, and if they can't do it, we're happy to print out for them. And then the children decorate and choose the text on their family boards, and then they choose the location of their family board around the classroom. So actually, the child who's holding the picture of her family as a necklace, you can see another family board over her shoulder. The children choose the locations of their family boards, and then as they're thinking about their families and missing their families, they can go visit their families throughout the day. Now, for older children, as I said, for children who need more close contact with a photo, maybe they carry it with them or keep it in their backpack. But I've also seen classrooms keep family photos posted on the wall. I've seen family photo albums kept in the classroom that children can go and access. And so keeping that visual representation and therefore metaphor of the connection to the attached relationship that they have with their family grown-ups has been beneficial for children all the way. I've seen it through 5th grade. I'm sure it exists beyond in middle school, but as I said, I'm just getting to know middle school now.
Well, Katie, one thing I was going to say about middle school, there's not necessarily a physical representation of family, but that I've seen some particularly social studies teachers do is interweave family themes in the curriculum. And so it's a really nice way to experience bringing your family into school. It's not an everyday kind of a thing, but I think the more we can think about for older students, how do we bring families into the curriculum, into conversations? I think the more they'll feel that connection.
Erica, I would love for everyone to keep that thought in their heads because it's going to come up later in my later slides. Yeah.
Fantastic.
We were having a brain match there.
Okay, very good. Should I advance the slide? Or
let's see. Yes, please. Please go to the next one. All right. So in addition to greetings and having that connection to families as children come in, I would love to talk about morning routines. And now routines are part of all classrooms, early childhood and beyond. And we know that routines help children feel safe. They know exactly what to expect. They know what their work is when they get to school. And we can't take these routines for granted. That feeling of safety and security of knowing exactly what to expect helps them feel settled as they come in, because there's no big loud surprises or big changes to their schedule. But it also helps them feel ownership in this space. I know exactly what to do in this space. I know I know where I'm to go. I know what I need to complete. And I would encourage us to think about these routines to also have some emotional thought behind them as well. For example, something as simple as an attendance routine can carry a lot for children. So for example, this child on the left is signing in on the sign-in sheet. Because this is a pre-K classroom, she's signing her first name and practicing her capital A a number of times before she signs in her name. But of course, attendance would look different for older children, but I don't want us to take for granted that attendance is not only a logistical thing that we need to complete for the school, but it's sending this message of, oh, good, you're here. We've been waiting for you. Please let your friends and teachers know that you're here on this sign-in sheet or on this attendance board, or, perhaps in a classroom I've seen for older children, they move their name over, or they're writing their full name because they're working on first name and last name. But it's a routine that lets them know your presence is required, and it formalizes it by putting it into this chart. Just like we sign into work or clock in, it's a way of formalizing. You're here. We need you here. This is so good. And your friends will know that you're here via this attendance sheet. And so will your teachers. And we all want to know that you're here. Beyond a sign-in, I would also encourage a feelings check-in. And what you see here is an interactive feelings chart. Emphasis on interactive. While there are lots of feelings charts that exist out there, and I've seen them across my students at William Patterson, a lot of them have feelings charts in their rooms. I want to emphasize that this is interactive, meaning that the feelings are represented and the children interact by representing themselves in the feeling that they're having in that moment. Now, you can't see too close up here, but all of these feelings are represented by real photographs of children. They might be represented by photographs of your own children in the classroom. These were retrieved from the internet. But these were the feelings that had come up in our classroom discussions. Oh, I'm hearing you're feeling sad, or have other children felt that way before. And so these feelings represented are the feelings that have come up most in the group. For younger children, they might need help thinking about feelings and feelings words because they're just acquiring that language and that understanding. For older children, they might have a more nuanced sense of the feelings they might be carrying in that day. But for here, it's happy, sleepy, silly, tired, sad. I'm forgetting what the last one is, but each child, it's part of their morning routine to let the community know they're here by their signing in, and let the community know how they're feeling. And so we have this invitation as children come in. Hi, Erica, how are you doing today? It's so wonderful to see you. How would you like to be greeted? We're having that interaction. But perhaps in that moment, when there's a line of children backing up behind them who are also waiting for their greetings, maybe they don't feel fully comfortable sharing how they're feeling in that moment. And so the feelings chart it's offering another invitation to how are you doing today? And as the children, this becomes more routinized and more normalized in the morning check-in and part of their work, you'll see that the children start to access this chart in different ways. They might change their feeling throughout the day. If they have a particularly hard time with a friend, they might move their picture over to mad. And they also will be checking on how their friends are doing. And at this point of the year, we're just starting to hear children say, oh, hey, Franklin, I see that you're sad today. What's going on? How are you doing? What do you need? And of course, it gives teachers the insight, oh, this child's feeling tired today. I'm going to be checking in with them and checking on them throughout the day. And maybe they need some extra time at rest. Maybe they need to go to the Peace Corner. Peace Corners I'll talk about in a little while as well. But I highly encourage interactive feelings charts for all ages. I've seen them actively used through middle school. And in the same way that I might not feel so comfortable raising my hand in front of all of my colleagues and saying I'm feeling really sad today because I'm missing my daughter. Likewise, a child might not feel comfortable sharing in a greeting or in a full group setting, but the idea is having multiple invitations for them to share. And of course, the messaging is your feelings are important. We need you here, no matter what feeling you're carrying in with you, all the good and the bad. And then one more thing I'd love to stress, and I meant to say this in the earlier slide, is that when thinking about that connection with families, and especially if children are feeling sad saying goodbye to families, some books that I recommend having out are The Kissing Hand and The Invisible String. But I will talk about that a little later when thinking about bibliotherapy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, Danielle wrote in the chat that she likes the feelings chart because their feelings can change throughout the day, and they can change. Students can change it, and it's nice to talk about during the day.
Absolutely, Danielle. And I think that a lot of feelings charts I know that a lot of feelings charts are out there, and they might show different either real faces or emoji faces, and children can point to them and reference them. But I think what's important, and to your point, Danielle, is that the children are representing themselves there and have the ability to say, this is how I am right now. And to your point, that feelings change. They come up, they go out, they might stay for a long time, they might get some support and then change again. So thank you, Danielle.
Katie, can you just remind me of the other book that you said, because you said The Kissing Hand? I just want to put it in the chat.
Sure. The Kissing Hand and The Invisible String.
The Invisible String. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Should I advance the slide?
Just double checking. Yes, please go to the next slide.
Okay.
Another way of inviting feelings. If you can't tell, we take feelings very seriously in the classroom. Another way of inviting feelings and inviting the experiences and stories of children is something that we call news of the day. And so again, I work with younger children. Right now I'm working with 4- and 5-year-olds. And so drawing pictures of themselves is a big part of their experience, and drawing about their experiences is something that's expected of 4, 5, and 6, and 7. And so this is a mode of expression that they're accustomed to at this point. And so these papers stay on the table and they're available every morning. And of course, throughout the day if they want it as well. But what we've found is, maybe in passing conversation, children aren't ready to talk about experience, and they might put that they're feeling sad on the interactive feelings chart, but we don't know what the story is behind it yet. And they might feel comfortable talking about it verbally, and they might not. And so another way of inviting in and helping hold the children's experiences is just having writing and drawing as an offering to record their experiences and stories. And so news of the day might be, I like the color purple. It might be, my mom dropped me off at school today. It might be, I'm missing dad today. But in a seemingly neutral invitation where I'm constantly surprised by what comes up. And this is one of my favorite examples, even though it makes me very sad. A student of mine a couple of years ago, Matthew, came in, and I said, Matthew, I'm so happy to see you. Good morning. Welcome to school. And I said, how are you doing today? He's like, I'm good. I'm going to go build in Duplo. I said, great. I said, oh, by the way, news of the day is out if you're interested. And he goes, oh yeah. And he went over to news of the day and he sat down and he drew this picture of himself. As you can see, he drew a smiley face on his face, but then in his torso, he drew a heart with a sad face in it, a frown face. And so because he's a 4 or 5-year-old, I sat down and said, can I write down your words for you? And if you can't read it, it says, I drew that. Good luck with my handwriting too. I drew that I'm happy on the outside, but on the inside, I feel hurt and sad. And with drawing this out and me writing down his words, I was able to ask him some gentle follow-up questions, and he was able to share that his older brother pushed him and he did not like it and it hurt his body. And then because they were rushing to school, he was not able to talk about it with his brother and his parents. And so I would not have known that Matthew was carrying in this experience with him. And while it's a pretty common experience of maybe some physicality among siblings in the morning, it was impacting him, and he felt like he was carrying it inside of his body, whether it was the impact of the push or the impact of not being able to address this and get this conflict resolved with his family. He was carrying it in with him, and I would not have known about it fully through a morning greeting or through even the feelings chart. It was news of the day that was able to get this story from him. And so having these multiple invitations and multiple ways to share feelings has been incredibly helpful. We then share news of the day at morning meeting if children want. If they choose not to share it with the group, they don't have to, and they tell me, I don't want this read, and then we don't read it. But we did read this to the group, and then some children asked Matthew what he needed, or did he need extra gentleness with his body that day. And so likewise, as we're seeing children discuss what they're seeing on the feelings chart, this also opens it up to the group, sending the message, your stories matter, and we're going to take care of you, and we want to know your experiences. Regarding older children, news of the day may exist in your room, maybe not, but for older children, it often looks like journaling and regular journaling practices. Oh, Erica's agreeing. Regular journaling practices. And so, in your classroom, it's up to you. You know your children, you know your age group, you know the needs of the group. Is it a morning journaling time? Is it after lunch when their bodies are getting used to having sustenance in them again and they're feeling maybe a little calm? Do they journal? Is it an open free write? Do you have prompts every day? Is it every day? Is it a few times a week? Regardless of what practice you choose, I encourage you to build a practice that the children know that their teachers are going to read their words. Maybe their communities as well. For example, the news of the day is shared at morning meeting. So maybe certain entries are shared, maybe not. But the idea that this is an invitation to share about yourself, and it will be received and contained by your teacher. And I encourage you to have a journaling practice that at times you're interacting in the journal as well. Because again, sometimes they want to talk verbally and out loud, and sometimes writing is safer or feels more comfortable. So varied entry points for that. All right, Erica, next slide, please. Oh my gosh, we're running really late. Or I am, because I'm a talker.
Well, everything you're saying is hitting the mark.
Well, great, but I'm gonna pick up the speed a little bit.
You're gonna go faster. Okay.
I'm gonna go a little faster.
Okay.
I'm a talker. So other morning routines that exist, I am including here a question of the day or some kind of charting of something that's going on in the classroom. Sometimes it can be, were you afraid of the thunderstorm last night? Or how did you feel about the thunderstorm last night, and having different options? Or are you wearing blue today? Questions of the day and having charted answers out is continuing to invite children to share their opinions or their experiences, and then having it formalized in writing on a chart. And so here this is my wonderful co-teacher, who I'm very lucky to teach with. She's asking children, what do you want to study next? Space, trains, or unicorns? And so she's having conversations with each child. They're writing their own names. Sometimes they need help, but this kind of charting of experiences or opinions or feelings would be wonderful in all age groups. And then the small picture next to it might be hard to see, is class jobs. Class jobs are another way of sending this message that we're all here together, and all of our work and behavior in the classroom impacts one another. And so these classroom jobs are actually the ones that are currently in my classroom. And why there are only a few, not all of the names have jobs, is that the class jobs are coming from the children. So sometimes it comes from a teacher saying, oh, I noticed you pushed in that chair and then people were able to walk through. Is that something that is help, or could be a job in this classroom? And so we've been observing, and the children have been noting, oh, can I help you turn on the lights? And so the classroom jobs are emerging from classroom discussion, and then they change each day. It might look different in each classroom, depending on your age group or the needs of your children, either weekly or daily. But I would encourage daily, because it's sending this message that no matter what the job is, whether it's a super cool job like a teacher helper or a less cool one like a floor cleaner, that we're all doing the work in the classroom and we're all relying on one another.
Katie, I just want to interrupt you real quick because I
Sure.
think that this brings up the importance of student voice
Mm.
and the idea that your voice matters. So even if it's in a middle school or high school setting, inviting students to say like, what's working for you? What's not working for you in the school environment, and having their ideas be then turned into action. So even if it's not like necessarily a job, the concept of student voice really like creates so much of an environment of significance and belonging. So I love this. I love this slide.
Great. Well, Erica, we're having another brain match.
Oh God, another one.
Yeah, if you can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Morning meeting. Morning meeting exists in all age groups. I think it's more common in early childhood, but I would encourage morning meetings or class meetings or circle time for all groups. And of course, we're feeling the curricular pressures of what the school is wanting to see from your curriculum in each morning meeting. But I encourage you to hold a morning meeting. As it's our first time of the day where we sit down, we can see in each other's eyes, and then we go through our morning meeting routines as well. I encourage some kind of welcoming or hello song. Maybe with older children, it's a rap. Maybe it's a poem that you write together. But I encourage a way of kicking off the meeting that's acknowledging and greeting each person. We have a hello song. If we had a little more time, I'd be happy to show you the hello song because we sing it in English, Spanish, and American Sign Language. We don't have the time tonight, but if you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to share. I have a number of hello and welcoming songs. I am not going to talk too much about the routines in morning meeting just for time reasons, but you can see behind my head here is our schedule. And of course, our schedule is updated every day, and we do talk about that and this calendar. Much like morning routines helping children know exactly what to expect, these morning meeting routines are sending the message of this is what we're doing today. And I think that there's this inherent message underneath that says you deserve to know what's happening to you. You don't just show up to school and grown-ups are making decisions for you. This is what the schedule holds today. How is this feeling? Oh yeah, it's, our afternoon's a little different today. How is that for you? So those kinds of discussions let them know you deserve to know, and exactly what to expect, and that safety that comes from knowing what's ahead for them. I'm going to briefly describe what's happening in this slide, and this is to Erica's point about student voice. Our class rules come from class discussion. So this was like day 3 of this school year, where we said to children, what should the rules for children in this classroom be? And they had a number of ideas, and you can see them raising their hands here. And then the next big piece of paper that I brought out said, what should the rules for teachers in this classroom be? And they had a number of ideas, and some of them are exactly what you'd expect. Teachers should take care of children. And sometimes it's teachers should not hurt children. And sometimes you might not know what children are feeling nervous about until we can put our heads together and come up that everyone deserves to feel safe. Erica, if you don't mind going to the next slide. This conversation, as we pull together their ideas and we start to group them, because we'll say, oh my gosh, you said we shouldn't knock down blocks because it's too loud. And you said that we need to put our materials away. I'm noticing some similarities in these rules, that this is about the classroom and the classroom materials. But then this person said there should be no punching, and this person said there should be no kicking. And so this is about bodies. I'm hearing these rules about bodies. And so each year, they don't know it, but these 3 classroom rules already exist. I've used them for the last 15 years, but they're the absolute perfect all-encompassing umbrella rules that we can put all of the children's ideas together, have them be represented without being a list of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but really use proactive, positive language. And so all the rules come under the umbrella rules of we take care of bodies, which is the orange rule. The purple rule says we take care of feelings. It says it in English and Spanish there. And the green rule is we take care of the classroom and classroom materials. And so to Erica's point about student voice, they know that these rules are coming from them, and they're rules for children and grown-ups. And then additionally, that everyone deserves to feel safe here. Everyone's feelings deserve to be taken care of. And that we're all in this community together. Okay. Erica, I'm noticing the time. I do have
Okay.
slides. I just want to know how I shall proceed or pause.
How many more slides do we have? Oh, we have a lot. Okay. I think maybe just for time purposes, do
Sure.
you want to make, should we highlight one more slide and then do a Q&A?
Yeah,
Sorry to make you, I feel like we need a part two.
that's okay. That's okay. Do you mind going back a couple slides? And I'm going to say about one sentence per.
Sure.
Sure. Here's we have a turn and talk and a peace corner, and I encourage all classrooms, no matter what age, to have a solo space for children. Maybe it's called a cozy corner, maybe it's called a peace corner, or maybe it's called a solo space, but that children are invited to use it as they need. And it's not about going in there and solving their feelings, because feelings happen and we all have them. But it's about choosing, students having the right to choose to go and take care of themselves. Erica can go to the next slide. Thanks. This is my one plug for bibliotherapy. Bibliotherapy is the use of books to reflect the feelings and experiences of children, good and bad. And there are a lot of children's books out there that are beautiful, that are about school might be you might be nervous to start school, but chin up, you're going to get through it. And it's about building resiliency and grit. And while that's super valuable, it's also important that we're choosing books to reflect all of the good and scary feelings that happen for children as well. So these are examples of whole group bibliotherapy, small group, and one-on-one. This book that I'm reading with a child here was a child who was feeling scared about something. And so this is a book about feeling scared. So using books to represent the children's experiences. And then if you don't mind going, Erica. Here are some books that are just on offer in the classroom, and it's really important that children are feeling represented in the books as well. So using that to let them know, hey, we have books about children who look like you, who are going through experiences like you, and who are having feelings like you. And then this lovely space picture warrants more discussion, but it's about children's ideas coming into curricular teaching. And so some of us have flexibility to do that if we work in early childhood classrooms, maybe less flexibility when you get with older children. But how can you have the children's interests and passion represented in the learning that you're doing? And then next one, Erica.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to say that Danielle also, when you were talking about the bibliotherapy, mentioned that it's also a great way for them to make connections.
Absolutely.
So,
and find out who else is feeling that way.
yes, yes.
I'm not going to talk about self-portraits right now because I could talk about them for an hour, but if you don't mind going to the next one, Erica. Lastly, connections with families, and what a wonderful way for children to help, to continue to feel safe in the classroom space. And I encourage us to think about how we communicate with families and the equity in communication accessibility. Do all families have accessibility to technology? What's the best way to connect with families? And what are ways that we can encourage families to come and engage in the classroom? And we have a lot of parents who are working. So, could they join through Zoom? Could they come in person to talk about a holiday or something? This was a Diwali celebration on the left here, or do you have a read aloud rotation that families can come in, and can they record one and send it into the classroom if they're working during the day? So this last slide was about families, and I'm gonna leave it there, Erica.
A perfect place to leave it. It's beautiful, beautiful pictures. Okay, I think one of your colleagues, Katie, just wrote in.
Oh, yeah. Maritza is saying, we're so lucky to have such a lovely school environment where families are always able to share their experiences, culture, and traditions with us. Maritza, I completely agree.
Yeah, very, very unique and special to your school. Okay, so I guess before we ask you what you took away from this fantastic webinar, first of all, Katie, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your personal practice with us and your photos and just like everything you do. It really comes to life in such a wonderful way. So I personally feel and felt very touched by that. And I imagine all the participants also felt that way. Before we go into just what you took away from this webinar, I'm going to actually advance it to any questions you have. So please feel free to unmute yourself, or you can, ask a question in the chat box. But any questions you have, either from my portion of the webinar or Katie's, we would love to be able to answer them in the next few minutes. And if not, that's okay too. We'll just hold some space for like 30 seconds. All right, maybe well, that wasn't 30 seconds, but just for the interest of time, maybe there's no questions. You explained everything very thoroughly.
These folks I will see tomorrow. So if they have any questions, of course, they can.
Yeah. But what I am going to ask, because it would be really lovely feedback for us, is if you wouldn't mind just entering into the chat box, or please feel free to unmute yourself too. Maybe one, just for the interest of time, one thing that you're thinking about implementing that Katie shared today, or one takeaway you have. We would love to know what really stuck with you. And then after we hear from you, we'll close out. The chat room waiting. Okay, well, that's okay too. I know that we all took away such wonderful ideas from you, Katie, and from the whole webinar. So thank you so much. And everyone, we know that it's late. We're sorry that we ran over a little bit, but everything was so wonderful. And Danielle wants to give you props, Katie. Everything was on point.
Thanks, Danielle.
Thanks, Danielle. Thank you all so much for coming and sticking on with us tonight. Sounds like everyone found this to be a really wonderful learning experience. Thank you so much, Gamby, for sharing. And thank you all for participating, for staying on for the entire webinar. We really enjoyed doing this together. And so we hope you have a wonderful evening. And good luck to everybody in their classrooms. This is a part of a series that we're doing, a webinar series, so we'll have another one coming next month. So look out for details on that. And we say good night. Katie, any final words?
No, I'm just so thrilled to be here and thinking together with all of these teachers.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone.